If you own an electrical business and you're selling a repeatable service, let's say solar or lighting or air source heat pumps, whatever it might be, and you find that every year your revenue's going up, but you're not actually making any money, I can almost guarantee you've got a sales problem. I'm going to show you why that is and how to fix it. And if you stick around to the end, I'm also going to give you a free pricing tool that will show you how to fix this. So I run a community called The Happy Electrician, and every week I talk with electrical business owners about their challenges in the business. And I was with a couple yesterday who run a solar installation business, and we were looking at pricing. And basically the challenge they have is that they're making money, the money is increasing, they're getting loads of jobs booked in, but is there actually any money left in the bank at the end of the year? And what I realized with talking to these guys, but talking to all of our clients, is it's always an issue around sales. And we tend to make these excuses, it's this, it's the economy, it's that, people don't want to pay anymore, but it's always a sales issue. It always comes back to the same thing. So what I want to do now is show you why that is and help you fix it. And if you stick around at the end, what I'm going to do is take you through this tool that I've got here and give you a free link to this so that you can actually come and figure out your right pricing for yourself. So let me just explain to you why you end up having a sales issue, why this is so common, right? So electrical contractors or any kind of business, what we do is we find ourselves in competition with big corporates, right? So let's say in solar, it's something like Octopus Energy. So you've got your big kind of corporate competition, right? And what they've got is economics of scale. So their business model is that they sell lots. They sell loads of volume and they do lots and lots of jobs, right? And what that means is that their price can be lower, okay? So they can charge lower than what a small local boutique firm would charge. Now, I used to own a gym. So if you think about a gym, I used to own a CrossFit gym. We had we had one facility, we could only service around 150 members. Now, if I tried to run on the same pricing model as Anytime Fitness, who have got hundreds of gyms all over the country, then it's not going to work because they've got different economics. And basically what happens with the big companies is because they have economics of scale, they can charge less, they can respond to leads faster, they can spend more money on marketing, they can do all of this stuff. So what they do is they have a lower price point. You're a small local business, right? So instead of being this massive thing over here with multiple sites, you're a small local company and you've probably got one, maybe 3 sites, right? Let's just say 1 for now. So you are small. And what most business owners do, so we're small and we've got less volume. And what most contractors do is, and business owners, is think about our pricing and we try to compare ourselves to these guys over here. So we look at, well, how much is it for Octopus Energy? How much do they charge to install a solar? Right, well, we need to try and compete with that. And we base our pricing based on that. And what that does is it puts you in competition with somebody who's playing a different game to you. And again, if I come back to the gym example, it puts me in competition with Anytime Fitness when I own a small local boutique gym. It's never going to work because the pricing that they've got is set up for scale. And if you try and copy that pricing, you're going to find that you might make sales, but you're going to have no profit because you can never make as many sales as these guys make to actually have a decent business. So you're trying to price on their strategy, but you haven't got the economics that they've got. So if you think about it, what this is going to lead to is you competing on price and you never having any money. Now let me show you now why it's going to lead to you not having any money. So the very basics of business, you need to know some numbers, right? And you need to know what's your average job price. Let's say with Octopus Energy, their average install is 8K. Right? And their margin is, I don't know, 30%. I should have made this 10K to make the maths easy. So let's just say this is 10K so I don't start confusing everyone with maths. So if their margins, and I'm going to go lower on the margin, let's say it's 20% because they're doing so many. Right? So they make 2K per job. Now, these are probably not the right numbers. So they make 2K per job, but they can, let's say that they can do, I'm making up numbers again, 500 jobs over the year. It's probably more, right? So the actual money that ends up in Octopus, with Octopus, before their fixed overheads, getting $1 million in gross profit. Okay, now the reality is it's probably more, right? And then after that, they've got to lose their fixed overheads, which is going to be big. It's going to be way more than that. Okay, but let's imagine that you try and run on the same numbers, right? And straight away, you as a local small firm are limited with this number here, right? You're very limited with how many jobs you can do and the area that you can serve, which is also an advantage, by the way. But let's just say that you're limited to 50 jobs over the year. If there's one of you or two of you, that's assuming that you're not taking any holiday. There's only 2 weeks in the year. If a job takes a week where you're not doing jobs, it might be more, it might be less. Okay, but if we use the same numbers as up above there, 10K average job, 20% average margin, 2K is the margin. Then now all of a sudden we've got 2K per job and we've only got 50 of them. And that gives us 100,000. That might sound good. You're like, well, great, 100,000, my little local business. But let's just assume that your fixed overheads, you've got some vans, you've got maybe a little office, you've got a couple of you on that need to get paid, you know, the owner, installer, maybe. So you're probably going to be close to having at least 100K in fixed overheads. Now, what that means is, which I don't think is going to surprise you, is that you actually end up, if you did exactly this and your overheads were 100K, you actually end up with £0 in the bank, right? You've got to make sure that when you're figuring out your overheads, you're actually accounting for a salary that you're going to get paid. Again, if you don't do that, you're going to run the risk of running a business that doesn't make any money. So that starts to show us that, okay, 9 times out of 10, a small business cannot compete with a big business on pricing. So it shows us that you probably, with the jobs that you need to do, need to charge more and have higher margins. Or maybe just one of those things, or maybe both. And if you charge more and have higher margins, you can get paid, you can grow a decent business, you can pay people to do the admin, you can have more money left in the account at the end of the year. But if you aren't charging to actually leave money in the bank and pay people and pay salaries, you're just going to be very stressed and very busy and not have anything to show for it. And the reason you're probably doing that is because instead of reverse engineering the business from what you want, you're basing your pricing based on what these guys are doing over here. You looked at the market average and you went, well, they charge that, so that's what we should charge. Or you're basing your pricing thinking like a labourer, where you're charging a day rate for your time, blah, 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 blah. The customers don't care about that. So what we've got to move towards is pricing in a way that works for you and your business, and then thinking about who's the ideal clients that will want to pay this. But like I said before, actually having the confidence to sell a higher ticket priced item. Most people that go into business, and I did this with my first business. I'll just show you an example here. So again, I had the gym, right? And I didn't really know what to charge. So I started off at £80 per month. So let's say my max was 150 members, right? And at £80, that gives me 12K a month or 144K a year. And you might look at that and go, yeah, that's all right. But the reality is it's not, because the level of service that we were providing, we had full-time coaches, we had a facility, we were programming, every session was coached, you know, there's really good quality there. And all of that cost money. And basically what that meant was that I would be in the negative at the end of the year if I'm trying to pay my coaches, cover all the overheads and pay myself, right? There's no money left for me. So what I realized is that really we had to get good at charging £150. And this is still not a particularly amazing business. And when we do £150 times 150, that gives us 22.5K per month, or times 12, 270K per year. Now, that's still not an amazing business if you really look at the effort to reward ratio, but it enables me to pay 2 full-time coaches, and it enables me to take a bit of a salary for an owner. Now, the only reason that I wouldn't do this and I would stay at this is because I'm not confident at sales and I'm not confident at attracting the right people. So that's what we've got to figure out. And what I want to show you now is a tool that helps you figure out what your pricing's got to be. So for you as an independent contractor or a small local business, what's your pricing got to be for your business to make sense? And then that forces us to address the pricing issue and the sales issue. Right? But if we don't know what our numbers need to be, what happens is we stay in this loop where we've got a business that isn't making us money, but every time we think about doing anything about it, which is either increasing our price or increasing our margins, because we're not confident in sales and we don't believe in our value, we just fall back to sticking over here. And this is why so many business owners stay stuck in this rut of having a business that isn't actually making any money because they haven't got the confidence to change the sales. But if the numbers tell us, black and white, if you don't fix the sales and the pricing, then you're not going to have a business. That forces us to address the next issue, which is we need to get better at sales. So let's have a look at this little tool that I've built for you. Okay, so we'll address our numbers and our sales confidence once the numbers dictate that we need to. So what I've built for you is a little tool here called the Pricing Master Planner. Now we can do different tabs on this based on the thing that you're selling, but this is based on solar. The only thing that makes it solar is that I've put some average pricing over here for corporates, and there's a reason for that, which I will show you in a moment. So what you do is you come here, click File, click Make a Copy, and pull this into your Google Drive. If you don't have a Google Drive, you should have, but you can just download a spreadsheet and then you can edit it. So the numbers that you can change are the numbers that are in grey. And what you want to think about to start off with is you need to have a rough idea of what your fixed costs are per annum, right? If you're using 0, it can tell you that based on last year. So you need to put that into the number here. What I would highly recommend you do when you're doing this is make sure that you include the money that you need to get paid in that fixed cost. What a lot of trades do, trades-based businesses, is we just pretend that we're free labor in the business and that we get paid out of the profit. Look, regardless of how you pay yourself, whether you're doing it through dividends or not, factor for your salary, your minimum salary that you need to survive, factor for that in the fixed costs. Don't care how you do it in the accounts, but do that here, otherwise we're gonna have a fake number. Okay, if we put this in as 50 grand a year fixed cost, but you're not getting paid, then this operating profit that shows down it, it's just fake, it's not real, and the numbers won't be right. You can put your fixed cost down here, you can put your average margin per job here. If you don't know, just go back through your last 10 jobs, see what you charged, what you actually made, and then divide the number that you made by the total cost of the job, and that'll give you your margin. You can put that in, you can put your average job price, and then the maximum amount of jobs that you think you can do in a year. So these are just some very average numbers that I've got here. So let's say currently you think you can do 50 jobs a year. Okay, in reality, it's probably going to be less than that for most 1 to 2 man band. Contractors, obviously, if you've got multiple teams, you can do way more. But regardless, put the number in that feels realistic. Remember, account for the admin needing to be done, the pricing of the jobs, the quotes, all of that's got to be done as well. So don't just put a number that's made up, put a number that feels feasible. Then what you're going to do is stick in your average job price. So this I'm just making this up here. Let's say it's 50 jobs a year you think you could do, and your average job price is 10 grand. And your average margin on a job is 20%, 2 grand. Okay, so what that then tells you is, right, you're going to do, if you can hit those numbers, you're going to do 500 grand over the year, and that's going to give you 100 grand gross profit. But you've got 100 grand fixed overhead, so what that basically means is you don't make any profit. But if your salary is baked in there, you are getting paid. Just something to bear in mind as a business owner is that if you're doing 0 gross profit, 0 operating profit, what that normally means is you're going to be struggling with cash flow. So you really want this to be upwards of 10, ideally 20% to have a healthy cash flow in business. Don't get stressed and bogged down with that now, but these are just the high level numbers that you need to know. So what we've got over here is your more money target. So let's say that you want to make 50, you want to have 50, this is money that's left in the bank, by the way, not just more revenue. So let's say you actually want an extra 50 grand at the end of the year left over, and that would either make you feel more comfortable, keep the cash flow healthy, or maybe even give you like a little bit of a salary for an admin person, something like that. So you can change this number. And what it gives you is 2 numbers then based on what you've got over here. Well, what you could do to hit that is you could drive your average job price up to 15 grand. And if you kept your margins the same, just drove that up, then you'd have your extra 50 grand in the bank. Or you could drive your average margin up, so keep your price the same, but drive your average margin on your jobs up to 30%. And if you did that, then you'd have your extra 50 grand in the bank. What you could also do is do more jobs, right? And if you do more jobs, the numbers change over there. You can also think about, if I did less jobs, how does that affect the numbers? There's a little fault there in the sum, so I'll fix that before you come over. So that gives us some high level thinking there. And then what happens over here is it tells you, right, okay, well, this is the corporate average. So I've done this off Octopus, and I'm like, this is just what AI has told me. For a 3-bed semi, these are the average prices, right? But you want to be at 15 grand. By the way, generally the easiest thing to do as a small business owner is get better at charging more per job, or attracting clients that are happy to pay more per job, because it's the same amount of lead generation, it's the same amount of sales process, it's the same amount of setting the job up and getting it signed over. So it just gives you the ability to do less jobs. Generally, it's the same amount of admin for a 10 grand job as it is for a 15 grand job. So let's just say that your ideal is that you need to charge 15 grand per job. Or your idea is you need to get 30% margin, so be better at pricing or whatever it is, or marketing your jobs. Often with things like solar, it's pretty fixed in what you're spending. So the actual answer is normally to get confident charging more. So then what that tells you as a contractor is, as a small local independent business owner, is my business doesn't work based on these numbers over here if I'm trying to compete on price with the corporates. It just doesn't happen, right? So what I need to do is get better at and more confident at delivering a higher price tag and making that an easy decision for my right clients. And that is a sales challenge. Okay, and the key thing to realize here is, because a lot of us are going to watch this video and go, oh, I don't know how to do that, people won't pay it. We tend to inflict our own money perceptions onto our customers. So just think about any industry. Let's go to clothes. You can go to town and buy t-shirts for less than £5 from Primark, or you can go to Armani and spend £100 on a t-shirt. There's a market for everything. And there are people that want cheap stuff, and there are people that want higher quality stuff. Generally, there are three kind of types of client. You've got the price shopper, right? They just want the cheapest thing that's available out there, right? And quality is less of an importance to them. Then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got the I want to spend money because it's flashy, right? And they just want the most expensive thing. They've got money to blow, and they just like the prestige that comes with buying the most expensive thing. This is a generalization. And then in the middle, you've got a quality buyer. And a quality buyer does not mind spending more money if they get the quality for it. They don't want the cheap thing. They don't just want to buy something that's expensive for the sake of it, but they are willing to spend more money if the value is there. And for you, as a small local business owner, this is your sweet spot. You want to find the clients that don't want the cheap thing. They don't want the risk of being stuck in some massive corporate giant that they can't get, that if the system doesn't work well, they can't get it fixed. They get stuck on hold in phone systems, all of that jazz. They don't want that. They don't just want to spend loads of money for the sake of it, but they're willing to spend more money for a high quality install or a high quality level of service, to have people they can trust, to know that the people that they're paying are going to turn up on time and do a great job, to give them peace of mind, and to know that there's a very low likelihood that anything's going to go wrong, and if it does, it's going to get looked after. That is worth £4,000 to a lot of people, right? Let's say the average over here is 11. People will pay an extra £4,000 because they know that they're going to get peace of mind, high quality install, good follow up, good service. They don't care. Lots of your buyers, your ideal buyers, do not care too much about the price. They don't care about the 3, 4, 5 grand difference. They care about, are they getting value for money? And these businesses over here that are going for volume, they're going after people that want the cheapest possible price. Your job is to fit in the middle. And you are going to get some people that say no based on price. And you're going to get some family members that say, oh, that's too expensive. You've got to ignore them. You've got to ignore them, because if you don't, you've got a business that you are basically a volunteer. You're working in a business for a low price, and you're making the business work for everybody else by keeping your prices low, because you don't get paid. And that will eventually lead to your business closing, and then nobody gets the service of your business. So the benefit of your business being there. So come in here, fill out your numbers, and just play around with it. And obviously, by the way, you can also do a combination of the both here. You can get your margins up, you can get your average price up slightly, you can combine the two. But this gives you a great first starting point about where you need to be. So if you want to get a copy of this, just comment pricing on the video, and we will send you the link to it so that you can go over, copy it, download it, and start figuring out what your prices need to be. Your business should make you happy. Your business should give you a good quality of life. And if you set your business up and price your business in the right way and price your services in the right way, it can work for you. It can work for the tax man because the government makes more money. It can work for your right customers because they're getting an amazing service that wouldn't be there if your business wasn't there. And as you grow a team, it'll work for them as well because everyone can get paid well. But if you're not confident in sales, you'll end up just constantly trying to compete with the cheap prices and end up with a business that you hate and be one of those guys down the pub saying the industry's messed up, nobody wants to pay any money, it's broken. The only difference between somebody that's smashing it and somebody that's sat at the pub saying the industry's broken is these people got clear on the numbers and confident at pricing and attracted the right customers.